Honourable Member for Brampton-Springdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to begin by commending and really thanking the thousands of volunteers, organizations and individuals, in particular students taking action now in Darfur, or STAND, and Save the Darfur Parliamentary Coalition, which have really been the voices of children and have expressed and have been the voice of the plight of women, and ensuring that their voices and their plight is not forgotten. And I think we as a nation cannot afford to forget that in another place in the world, there are atrocities that are occurring which are truly unimaginable and for which there really are no words. Minute by minute, children are dying of malnutrition, women are being raped, beaten, and abused, and young men are being lured into the culture of gangs, violence, and the militia. The United Nations has referred to the situation in Darfur as the world's most worst humanitarian crisis. And with almost 2 million deaths and with 4 million people being displaced in Sudan, we as a nation really have a responsibility to stop the genocide, to stop the atrocities, and to stop this humanitarian crisis, which is occurring before our very eyes. And we must take action, as it has been said before in this House, but we must take action now. We as a nation have an international reputation for being a world leader, for the promotion of peace, for humanitarian relief efforts, and really as a champion for human rights. In the previous Liberal government, and I think as a country, we had a commitment to put an end to the violence in Darfur. We as a country were one of the top 3 donors upon the founding of Africa's Made in Africa solution, committing over $170 million. We subsequently made the largest single contribution upon the expansion of the African solution, African Mission for Sudan, committing 7,700 personnel and also investing in 80 Canadian military and police personnel to help in the process of peace building, stability, and poverty reduction. Now, despite all of this aid and this investment, World Vision Canada has reported and approximately 10,000 more people are dying per month. And as a world, I don't think that we can afford to watch these human beings die. We as a nation, under our previous Prime Minister, Paul Martin, championed the doctrine for the responsibility to protect. We championed this cause in a global arena, and it is incomprehensible that we as a nation would watch an entire generation be cleansed and be wiped away. We as a country must protect the children. We must protect the women in Darfur. We must protect the thousands of people who are dying, not so much with talk, but really with concrete action. We must be the champions of the United Nations peacekeeping mission that focuses on Darfur, just like we were for the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, which was reached in 2005. And even if other countries on the UN Security Council are hesitant to move forward with a UN mission that is focused on Darfur, that is focused on achieving positive results for the people of Darfur, we as Canadians and as a country must convince the countries on the Security Council that this is simply the right thing to do. We must send in our peacekeeping troops if necessary to protect civilians, to provide stability, and to promote peace and order. And I call on our government to implement the 10-point agenda for action in Darfur that has been proposed by the Save the Darfur Parliamentary Coalition. I call on them to implement strict policy that is going to ensure and support the rapid transition from the current African Union force to a robust Chapter 7 mandated UN protection force. We call on them to enhance troop support so to allow for the civilian protection mandate to be achieved. We call on them to enforce the United Nations Security Council ban on military flights over Darfur, to support the UN Security Council, to disarm the militia groups, to enable internally displaced people to return to their homes. We call on them to implement this 10-point agenda for action because it is the right thing to do. The people of Darfur need us. This is not the time for us to play politics. We cannot stand by for the sake of diplomatic relations or even financial burden. We have a moral responsibility to save lives of the thousands of innocent people that are perishing. As the Sudanese government and the rebel groups work with the African Union and burn the midnight oil to reach an agreement, we must ensure all stakeholders will hold the Sudanese government to account. that a peace agreement finalized will be honored and will be the start of a process to provide the people of Darfur with hope for their families, and that women will be respected and children will be able to learn and become productive citizens and contribute to their communities so that the people of Darfur have peace and stability that they need.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My colleague opposite mentioned, I think we want to focus on the future, obviously, but she did mention the previous government's approach to this issue. I'm wondering if she could tell us whether her colleague, the member for La Salle-Martin, when he was Prime Minister, raised in either of his official visits to China or in the visit of President Hu Jintao to Canada during the member for La Salle-Martin's premiership. Is she aware whether or not the former Prime Minister raised the fact that the People's Republic of China is the largest supplier of armaments to the Sudanese regime, that it is the largest trade partner of the Sudanese regime and supplier of revenues through its energy activities in Sudan? Or did the former Prime Minister raise with his Chinese interlocutors the repeated Security Council vetoes and opposition from the PRC to any form of constructive resolutions to the Sudanese matter?
The Honourable Member for Brampton-Springdale.
Thank you for that question. I know that we must ensure that we I think as parliamentarians really move forward and help the people of Darfur. But what we can say is during the previous Liberal government regime, the Prime Minister was committed, along with other parliamentarians in this House, to ensuring that the people of Darfur really had positive results, that we had a process for peace, that we did achieve stability, and also that we provided an environment for children of Darfur to succeed. We were one of the first countries on the table when the Made in Africa solution of an African mission in Sudan was inaugurated in 2004, committing over $170 million. Subsequently, when it came time for the expansion of this mission, we as a nation were one of the largest contributors of any other country. In addition, when the United Nations peacekeeping mission took place in Sudan as well, we also provided personnel and assistance. We also had observer status at the 6th round of negotiations. So I think there has been an ongoing effort in addition to the other monies that were given for food and humanitarian aid. However, we have seen that despite all of this investment, there are still a substantial amount of atrocities occurring in Sudan, and we must do more as a country and as a global society.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think we'll take that as a no. The Honourable Member mentioned quite rightly the responsibility to protect, and that's something we hear about often. Along with the responsibility to protect, we have to have something to protect with. And I'd like to ask my honourable colleague if the responsibility to protect shouldn't also include the responsibility to arm oneself to be prepared to protect and capable of protecting if it comes down to that. And I'm guessing she will say yes to that, and I will ask her then if our government is prepared to support us when we expand the Canadian forces and give them the capability to protect that we've been lacking for the last many, many years.
The Honourable Member for Brampton-Springdale.
Thank you to the Honourable Member for that question. You know, as I had mentioned in my notes in regards to the 10-point action plan that has been referred and I think is being supported by all parliamentarians on this side of the House, one of the first points that was mentioned was in regards to ensuring a robust Chapter 7 that is mandated by United Nations Protection Force, and I think we will have to wait and see over the next 48 hours what the result of the negotiations are. But as I said in my speech earlier on, I for myself, and can speak I think on behalf of other colleagues on this side, would be very strongly in favor of ensuring, if required, that we have the deployment of troops to ensure the process of peace building, to ensure that we provide an environment for children to be able to get educated and to succeed, and to also ensure that we protect women. We as a country, I think, are have a tremendous reputation throughout the international arena for being peacekeepers, for ensuring that we provide humanitarian relief, and also ensuring that that we ensure that we build nations. And I think if it does come down to it, we will support troops in Darfur.